Wow, is it ever hot today? Mm. Right. The update video, eh? Well, given the number of months it's been, I had to do a little something special for that. Those of you that are in the know will probably know what I'm joking about. But for those that don't, I'd rather not explain it. So, probably the first thing you may have noticed is I've gotten a bit of a new hairstyle. With two people within like a week of each other saying that I look a lot like Weird Al Yankovic, I figured it was time for a haircut. I want to be perfectly clear. I've got nothing against the guy. It's just, he's a man. I don't want to look like a man. I want to look like a woman. I see a woman in the mirror, and I want others to see that as well. And I think that's honestly a pretty good segue about what I've been thinking about a lot with this month. What is identity? Is it what you identify as, or how you want others to see you? Well, I'd maybe say that it's a combination of both, in all honesty. And I think that's what's made transitioning kind of difficult for me is, well, I've been seeing a gorgeous woman in the mirror for quite a number of years at this point. But yet, nobody else is seeing it. And it just always leaves me going back to the same old thing. It's like, what am I doing wrong? Is it my voice? Is it because I don't use makeup? Do I have a conventionally masculine chin or jawline? I really don't know. And unfortunately, whenever people call me young man or whatnot, I can't just be like, what made you call me that? Why do I not look like a woman to you? Most of the time I tell them I'm a girl, they're just like, I didn't mean to do that at all, I'm sorry. I'm just like, look, this happens all the time. What can I do to improve myself for the future? That is what I would like to know. But to dial it back to talk about when I got this new hairstyle, well, it was definitely one of those moments where I felt like I might have been smiling a little too much. Because after I was done and I saw myself in the mirror, I was just like, oh, this is great. Thank you. And as I paid and was walking past some of the other customers that were nearby, I'm just like, oh, yeah, maybe instead of being like, maybe it should be more like, but who knows? I think we just live in a world where if you're smiling a little too much, people just think you're mental. Because people that are quote unquote normal don't feel happiness, they feel contempt. It seems like that seems to be the big emotion that you're allowed to feel. As per usual, I occasionally bounce into some rather fascinating videos. And one was something that I didn't really think cis people ever really experienced. It was a small animator talking about their experience with looking in the mirror. Now, this is a very, shall we say, cliche experience of being trans. It's like you look in the mirror and, like, I don't know, you throw something at it to shatter it, or you're just like, oh gosh. Or maybe just me, you just look in the mirror and it's just like, oh, you again? I figured you would have left by now. Yeah. So it's rather interesting to hear that this is a bit more of a common phenomenon than I would have expected. And that's definitely where the identity part of my philosophy started to come into play. It's the idea of, like, what is your reflection? It's very much something that's been discussed in the Disney animated version of Mulan. When will my reflection show who I am on the inside? And I guess that is something not exclusive to the trans experience. For instance, say somebody that's put on a few pounds and whatnot, they look in themselves in the mirror and it's just like, I'm not really that way on the inside. Why must I look that way on the outside? Or somebody, I feel like I'm just starting to go into a famous 90s song. I wish I was a baller, I wish I was taller, I wish but I know there was more to it than that. But it's just the idea of that discongruence between what you see and who you know you are. It's as if you're able to look past the mirror. And I think, just kind of looking back, I know I always had a difficult time looking into the eyes of myself in the mirror. It's been said that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and, well, I figured in the world of anime, that's why the eyes were always so big, so you could get a big glimpse into their soul. And I feel like that is something that applies into, well, the real world as well. Being able to just see into somebody. But therein lies the fun question is, what would we all look like if we only saw what we wanted to see in the mirror? Would there be a lot more tall people? Would there be a lot more blondes? Would there be a lot more women? Which, if that's the case, so I was mentioning anime. And really what has started this philosophical dive has to be Ghost in the Shell. Fantastic movie if you've never seen it. I like how it is adult, not only in its content, but also in its philosophy. It takes place 3 years from now, so we'll see how much of this actually comes true. And I think the biggest thing right there is the idea of how much can a person change before they lose themselves. The idea that you can augment the body with a supercomputer for a brain, but yet there is still that whisper of the original personality. The ghost, as they are referred to, and the shell is the biomechanical process that is running everything. And even more so than that is how much of yourself do you lose with each part. It's almost like that old piece of philosophy. I wish I could remember it, but basically imagine like an old ship, and once a month you have to replace a board in it. After about maybe 50 months or so, do you still have the same ship that you started with? But even more so than that, it's the idea that what makes us human? It is theorized that it is our memories that do so. But, as the movie shows, as well as countless other videos and articles and so many other things, is that the memory can be manipulated. And whoever's doing the manipulation, is it their personality or yours? Is it your identity or theirs? Food for thought. And probably the last thing to mention is you may or may not be able to tell, I've just been floundering with this whole voice training thing. It's one of those things where I feel like I'm doing alright, and then I'll hear myself on the computer, and then I sound like this. It's very disheartening, especially more so when I got a bit of a reality check. I was under the impression that it was just purely a muscle thing. After you built up the muscle enough, you would just naturally be talking like this. You wouldn't have to think about it. Turns out that's not the case. Really, the main thing about voice training is the idea that you're going to be able to tune your ear as well as every other part of your body to just kind of be like, nope, I'm slipping into a more masculine range. I need to just lighten it up just a little bit more. But I think probably the most cryptic piece of advice I have gotten is the idea that you need to make your voice sound natural. Which, to me, feels very counterproductive almost. It's the idea that, yes, unfortunately, my natural sounding voice is very masculine. And so the idea of voice training is to synthesize what a natural female voice is supposed to sound like. So how in the world am I supposed to make something artificial sound natural? And probably the other big piece of advice that I'm still just really thinking about is, what is the voice that you want? Well, at this point in transitioning, I want the voice, I want the face, I want the hairstyle, I want just about everything of myself to say that I am a woman. I don't have to tell people this, they can figure it out because it is something that is very obvious. And I think that is the issue I'm running into with voice training, is the idea that it's not so much that like it's a selfishly altruistic goal. Hope I'm not being too enlightened, too philosophical this episode, but I've been thinking a lot this month. But it's the idea that I'm being selfish because I want how other people can see me. If that makes any sense. And so, it's the idea of like, what do I want from a voice? Well, I guess in the grand manner of speaking, I basically want to sound like this.
Don't give up your day job, okay? Shouldn't we get down to business? Great, now he's getting obscene.
And if anybody knows where I got those voice clips from, I am very impressed. So, yeah, that's all I've got for this month. A very cerebral month for me. People say that Pride is supposed to be like this big, happy month if you're a part of that Rainbow Alliance. And if you're straight, you're supposed to be punished to death. And well, there's a part of me that kind of feels like I'm stuck in the middle between the two philosophies. It's very hard for me to enjoy Pride, as I feel like I just don't really belong with the established Pride culture. There's a lot of things in it I just simply don't agree with. And even more things that I just find downright offensive to my personal beliefs, as well as just other things and other people, especially, in my life. That's all I've got. If there's anything else you'd like to talk about, feel free to leave a comment down below. And please, lay off the politics. I get enough of that in the real world, and it would just be nice to get some respite here, if nowhere else in my life. Until next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.